All right, I'd like to give you some additional tips to help you with this section. Um, so here we go. So for the first part, graphing, one of the things to remember is you need two main things. You need a y-intercept, which is your b, and you need your slope. Again, it's rise over run for what you're taking care of. If you have those two things, you can graph them. Always graph your b first, then from your B, work off of your slope, rise over run, up or down first, right or left second. If you're given a function table with an equation, there's two ways that you can operate with this. One, you can find your slope, and you can find your B. So in this case, your B in this chart would be right here. This number is the B. So you have half of your equation. So you could look at your graph if there's a function table along with the graph. Look for the 0 in the x. Y is your b. Other way is you can pick 2 points and throw it into the slope-intercept form. So you could pick 4, 7, 6, 9, put it in there, but make sure when you do this, you're taking the y first. So if we take our 9, which makes this our 1, this would be our 2, our x would be 1, y is 2, or 4 is 2. So we have 9 minus 7, and then we have 6 minus 4. So our slope over this would be, we have 2 here for the rise, and we have 2 here, which is your run. So if we look at this, we can reduce this to 1. So that would give us our slope. We have our b from our equation, or we have it from the function table in regards to that. If you're just given a function table, the other way to look at this is through substitution. So depending on what your equation is with no function table, or an equation with a function table and no 0 for it, you pick a point. You're going to substitute that in. So from the point that you have, this would be your x, this would be your y, this would be your y, this would be your x. You would know what your slope is because you could use the function table just like I showed you up in the first one to find it, and then you'd look for this and then throw that back into the equation. So those are a couple different ways that you could do that. If you're asked to write a graph from an equation, again, the two things that you need is a b. You need to have that y-intercept. So I'm writing an equation. I find my b, which is my y-intercept. That's going to be 4. My slope is where it is the staircase when you do this. So we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a slope of 4 over 4, which would give us 1. So if we have to write the equation, write it into y equals mx plus b, we would have y equals x plus 4. But again, the two things that you need for your equation are the b first, then find your slope as you're working off of it. The next thing that you're going to probably use, if you have the equations, make sure that your y is by itself. If not, move what's attached. The first thing that you're going to move the x. Second thing that you're going to do, divide by the coefficient. If it's negative, divide by the negative to all the terms in the problem. That's going to be your basic way of going through this. Now, on some of these, you're going to find that, hey, there's only one letter that's available. Well, if it is only one letter, you need to solve for that. So you might have an equation that is 4y equals 8. Well, you have to solve for that letter in order for you to do anything. This would come out to be 2. Well, this is where the foldables come in with the 3-letter code. So it's either going to be X or it's going to be Y, one of those two. If you're asked to graph it, you have to do this first. If it's this type of equation, it's Y equals mx plus b. Again, graph your b, work your slope off of it. If it's number 2 and you only have one letter you see in the problem, it's either going to be X or it's going to be Y. Once you solve that, you're going to graph it. So one is either going to be a horizontal line or one of them is going to be a vertical line. Again, it's this 3-letter code that's going to help you out in that. So please use that. One of the things that you're going to see is you're going to see some more story problems in here. So as you look at the story problems, you're going to have to read them. The information is in the problem and it's in the graph. So one of the things that you can do is you could probably find your y-intercept, which is your b, because you may not be able to see it on the graph, but it's probably going to be in the sentence. So in the question I'm giving you here, a scuba diver starts at 10 meters below the water surface. He rises to the surface at a constant rate until he reaches the surface. Write an equation that would represent the graph. Well, again, you need to find your b and your m. But if you look at your graph and you say, well, it doesn't look like I can see where exactly it comes through, look at the sentence. Here is your b. Because it says it starts there. That's the starting point. So I've already got half of my equation. It's 10. The thing is, you've got to look for some of the words here that are going to tell you signs. He's starting 10 meters below the water surface. If they're below, that's a negative. So you're negative 10 because you're below the surface. I'm going to staircase this. It may give you another point. Well, I can use this, which is my b, y-intercept, and now I can staircase this and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go up 4, I go up 4. The line is positive, so I know my slope is positive. Well, this comes out to be 4 over 4, which gives you 1. This is your m. So now I can finish my problem by saying it's 1, which is just going to be x. And there's my equation for the graph. But the biggest thing is on this is you've got to read the problem. There's a lot of information in here if you can't see it off the graph, because you're going to get the sentences, you're going to get the graphs. If you can't see your y-intercept, which is, we can't find it, it's going to be in the sentences. That's your B. But be careful of words in there, because that's going to tell you whether it's positive or it's negative. One of the last things, in this section, you're going to be asked to describe what the line is doing. So the first thing is, if they give you an equation, is it in y equals mx plus b? If it's not, you have to create that. Again, Move the x, divide by the coefficient. That will get you to y equals mx plus b. Now, if they give you the equation and it's in y equals mx plus b form, then do the following in regards to what the question is asking you. Describe what is the y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? Look at your choices in your answer. B, which way is the line going? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? So again, with your y-intercept, you're going to have an ordered pair. Your x will be 0. This will be your number. This number is going to be your y. It's also going to be your b for your equation. Second, again, which way is the line going? This is dealing with your slope. Is it positive or is it negative? They may say increase or decrease. The third one is, what actually is the slope of the line? Here again, use your equation. It's just the m. So you have to read the questions. This is the part that you're getting into where you're going to have to dissect what is in the problems that you're doing. So the last thing I have for you is the biggest thing. Make sure you are reading the problem. If you're not going to read the problem, there's nothing I can do to help you, whether I'm here or not. The other thing is, look at the graph, if there is one. From the graph, you should be able to find your b. You should be able to find your slope by staircasing it. Look at the equation. Is it in y equals mx plus b? If it's not, use the motion of what you're doing. Move your x. Add or subtract it. Divide by the coefficient. If it's negative, divide by a negative. If it's a negative coefficient, divide by the negative coefficient to everything on the problem. Look at the function table. If it's given, what you're looking for is, where is your x equaling 0? Your y is your b. That's your y-intercept. But the other thing is, you want to make sure to see, what are they actually asking me to do? Are they asking me to find an equation that fits the graph and the line? Is it asking me to figure out what the graph should be? Or is it asking me if I need to graph it? That's the thing that you have to be careful of in this section is, are you going to be reading this stuff or not? The other part that's the main part is, are you going to be using what you have been given? This is nothing new. This is all a review. So use this, go back through this. Hopefully you wrote some things down. If not, there's nothing I can help you with in this next section and probably the rest of the year because we're not going to take advantage of this. So please use this today for the rest of the week. You can even use this stuff on your final that's coming up. So this is a lot of good information that you can use. Please use it and do well on the assignments this week.